So you're going to go to the Brown Trout Festival then?
I sure am, and it starts at 6 a.m., but I'm not going to be the one out there starting out fishing, but I'm going to be out there covering it, and I hope everybody else comes out and joins me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Great. Well, that's all for the late edition of 11 News.
Good night.
From Rogers City to Standish to Johannesburg, this is Wbkb-Tv.
This is 11 Action News Update at 11. A comprehensive look at news, weather, and sports.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Lisa Neitzel. Since Michigan's firearms season started on Tuesday, at least 8 hunters have died, not from accidental shootings, but from heart attacks.
This is the 11 Action News Update, a comprehensive look at Northeast Michigan news, sports, and weather.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Lisa Neitzel. An Aranac County man's life has been taken after an accident yesterday afternoon. Thomas Sharrow, 33, of the village of Turner, was riding on his three-wheeler when he hit a tree.
This is the 11 Action News Update, a comprehensive look at Northeast Michigan news, sports, and weather.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Allison Angley. The Alpena Municipal Council has sworn in its 3 newly elected members tonight. Michelle Kay has the story on the first City Council meeting of 1994.
This is 11 Action News Update, a comprehensive look at Sunrise Side news, sports, and weather. And now, 11 Action News Update at 11.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for 11 Action News Update. I'm Adam Bartlemay. President Clinton has announced the roster for his new national security team. The star player may be Madeleine Albright, the current ambassador to the United Nations. Liz Mullen reports.
Good evening and welcome to your Upper Great Lakes News Network at 6. Straight ahead, a fiery terrorist attack at a Scotland airport forces U.S. officials to beef up security measures. Also, Governor Jennifer Granholm tells lawmakers to lead by example by take a pay cut to help fix the state's financial crisis. Plus, Alpena Restore's first ever redneck fundraiser raises a few eyebrows and surpasses many expectations. And of course, your up-to-date local forecast and sports on UGN.
Coming to you live, reporting the news that matters to you. From Lake Superior to Lake Huron, this is UGN, the Upper Great Lakes News Network.
Good evening, I'm Anna Maria Netta. A fire sends a man in his 60s to the hospital, leaving others smoked out and stranded.
Tonight brought closure to some in Rogers City after a tragic week. Good evening, Northeast Michigan. I'm Sarah Oskey. Earlier tonight, the funeral service was held for 5 members of the Wong family who died in a house fire early Tuesday morning.
Your first look at news, weather, and sports. This is Northeast Michigan's best news source. You're waking up to WBKB Early Morning.
The man from Posen who murdered his neighbors back in January had a preliminary exam yesterday morning. Plus, an Alpena man has been sentenced for drunk driving and causing harm to another driver. And it's Wildfire Prevention Week, and the DNR wants to remind everyone to take precautions when burning debris. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley McDowell. For a first look at weather, let's check in meteorologist Adam Claiborne. Good morning, Adam.
All right, well, now we have that cooler air in place, and snow will be falling for us throughout the morning. Some of us have already seen some of those snowflakes.
Straight ahead on WBKB News, your top stories from 2012.
A summer robbery in Lachine resulted in the arrest of 3 suspects, and the trial is still ongoing.
Plus, a wildfire in the Upper Peninsula burns thousands of acres and forces many to evacuate.
And the much-debated proposal over in Alpena County, known as the Hunt Millage, did not pass in the November election.
We'll have those stories, plus your top 2012 weather highlights.
The news that affected you all year starts now.
From Rogers City to Tawas City and all points in between, this is Northeast Michigan's award-winning news team. We are your source for news, weather, and sports. We are WBKB News at 6.
A murder that occurred in October of last year was still captivating residents until the trial ended earlier this month. Good evening, everyone. I'm Marlena Hamilton.
And I'm Marissa McKay. December 10th, Montmorency County Prosecutor Terry Case sentenced Henry Major to life in prison for the murder of Terry Lee.
Road this evening. Plus, Relay for Life had their closing ceremony. And the rodeo is in town. We'll have those stories plus your local weather and sports. The news that affects you starts now.
From Rogers City to Tawas City and all points in between, this is Northeast Michigan's award-winning news team. We are your source for news, weather, and sports. We are WBKB News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Neil Liwanag. Topping our news tonight, a 2-car accident occurred on Bolton Road and Long Rapids Road at around 6 p.m.
From Rogers City to Tawas City and all points in between, this is Northeast Michigan's award-winning news team. We are your source for news, weather, and sports. We are WBKB News at 11.
WBKB News at 6 starts now.
This is WBKB News at 6. An in-depth look at news, weather, and sports. From hard-hitting news stories to local events, we're there with coverage you can count on. You're watching WBKB News at 6.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Tyler Cruz.
And I'm Sherry Stewart. We begin tonight with promising news. The FDA has approved the first new drug for Alzheimer's disease in nearly 20 years.
Yeah, and some are hailing it a victory for people with the disease and their families, but critics question if there was enough evidence to approve the drug.
This is WBKB News at 6. An in-depth look at news, weather, and sports. From hard-hitting news stories to local events, we're there with coverage you can count on. You're watching WBKB News at 6.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Tyler Cruz.
And I'm Sherry Stewart. President Biden will make his first visit to Michigan since taking office. According to a statement from the White House, Biden will be in Kalamazoo, Michigan on Thursday.
Straight ahead on WBKB, the Michigan State Police Alpena Post raises money for the Special Olympics. Plus, Alpena High School students visit the state capitol for a showcase. And the city of Alpena celebrates 23 years of being recognized as a tree city. You're watching Thunder Bay News Network. WBKB News at 6 starts now.
Live from Alpena, Michigan, this is WBKB 11 Evening News. This is your up-to-date and continuing coverage on local news, weather, and sports. These are the stories that matter and the news that affects you most. You're watching WBKB 11 Evening News.
Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Hodge. The Michigan Special Olympics is getting some help from the Michigan State Police Alpena Post. In 2021, they raised $25,000 to go towards the event.
Straight ahead on WBKB, find out how it is being a woman firefighter and working in a male-dominated industry, plus hear how Alpena Public School students did at the film festival and see how Alpena truckers joined convoy. You're watching Thunder Bay News Network. WBKB News at 11 starts now.
Live from Alpena, Michigan, this is WBKB 11 Late Night News. We have the most up-to-date information on local news, weather, and sports. With an update on today and your first look at tomorrow, this is WBKB 11 Late Night News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Erin Griffin. I spoke with Alpena's Fire Department, Abby Smith, to get her thoughts on what it's like being a woman in a male-dominated field. And here's how it went.
This is WBKB-TV, where news makes a difference.